Well, what a couple of weeks it's been. Things are really busy over here and pretty hectic. In some ways, and in other ways, they're really quiet and slow. So, look, I really want to come on tonight and have a quick chat to you about the changes or the potential changes to the regulations. Now, since Christmas last year, they've been talking about some new rules that they're bringing into Bali. There's been so many rumours and so much reporting of what's going on that it's actually scaring away a lot of tourists. And look, in the last probably 4 weeks after they started cracking down on the yobbo factor on the Aussie tourists that were drinking and not wearing helmets, and not just Aussie tourists, sorry, but on all the tourists, I think there's a huge decline, or there seems to be a huge decline, certainly in my age group, in some of the older tourists that have been hanging around Legian and Seminac area, Quota and that sort of stuff. There seems to be a lot of young ones still, but they don't seem to be too much deterred by the regulations and the helmet laws and the uncertainty. But I'm going to try and give you my take on what's happening, where it's going, what it's likely to lead to. So look, the latest one that's come through on the press today, and this has come from the governor of Bali, saying a couple of things. Look, the one thing they're saying is they're talking about a quota system. They're talking about having to nominate to come to Bali up to 12 months in advance and limiting the number of tourists. Look, we're getting swamped over here with incredible traffic, horrific delays getting to and from the place. And I think they're looking at maybe a supply and demand sort of model, that if there's less tourists, the tourists are going to be paying a little bit more for what they get. Now, I tell you what, you've got to do a lot of work with the infrastructure to make that possible, because the infrastructure here in Bali, in some places, is incredible. You look at Nusa Dua and some of the, and even the Canggu and the newer suburbs are just stunning. But the roads to get to a lot of these places are just diabolical. So if they're trying to build a better Bali, they really need to start looking at how they can make the experience better to get a better quality of clientele. One thing they're definitely trying to do is get rid of the yobbo factor and get rid of the self-entitled Eastern Europeans who come over here with dad's money and they think they're invincible. And I've got to say, they're everywhere. Now, I'm not normally one to knock any particular race or any particular group of people, but I tell you what, if you're over here, there are lots and lots of, and I'm just going to say Eastern Europeans, you can fill the blanks in, but there are tons and tons of them over here with huge amounts of money. They're staying in, and they've pushed the price up of accommodation from what was hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars for the same period of time. So that's definitely having a huge impact on some of the tourists, but in a way it's helping Bali, because it is bringing a little bit of money into the country, or probably quite a lot of money into the country, but it's at the detriment of the peace and tranquility of the Balinese, because they don't respect the culture. They're not aware of the culture. They don't learn the language. They don't understand what makes Bali unique, and the spiritual side of Bali is a million times far and away the most critical and the most important part of Bali that exists. It's not the waterfalls and the beautiful scenery, the surfing beaches, even the cheap drinks by the pool and all that sort of stuff. It's Bali has been a spiritual connecting place for thousands of years, literally thousands of years, for so many different religions, ancient religions and modern day religions alike. It's been a place where priests and monks and spiritual elders and leaders from all around certainly the South Pacific, if not the world, have been coming to regain their quest for the meaning of life, and that's even indicated by the giant big statue in Uluwatu that towers over half of the city of Denpasar. And it is a special place. It's one of the only places in Indonesia where you can freely walk into a shop and buy a beer. You got to remember, Indonesia is predominantly a Muslim country with hundreds of millions of people that live a very, very, very different lifestyle to what the Australian, the average Aussie tourist is even aware of. And over COVID, they were talking about cutting alcohol out of Bali, and stopping people in Bali or tourists from being able to get alcohol. Now, a lot of people say that'll never happen, but I tell you what, if they keep getting all these negative reports about people being wayward and people having no respect for the local culture, I guarantee they'll try it. They'll bring it in. And if it's at the detriment of the tourist industry, I think what they're looking at saying is, we don't care if there's bad tourists. We'll attract a better quality of tourists. We don't want yobbos. We want families. We want sensible people. We want semi-retired people. We want people who are going to respect our culture, people who are going to enjoy our what we've got to offer, and people who will leave with a good impression, and not people who are just coming over here to get on the drink and be crazy and stupid and disrespect everything that Bali stands for. So what they're doing at the moment is they're looking at options, and they're looking to see what the hell they can do to try to fix that. And unfortunately, one of the things they're looking at is saying, okay, you've got to basically show that you're serious about coming to Bali by putting your name down and limiting the number of places in Bali, or up to 12 months in advance. So you might have to go in some sort of lottery or some sort of raffle. I don't know. It's pretty scary, and I'll tell you who's scared about it the most. It's the shop owners, it's the people running the tour industries, it's the drivers, and oh look, it's terrifying for them, because they've been through so much for the last 4 years. They've only just survived with COVID and with the borders being shut down. To have this potentially looming over their heads is absolutely terrifying. Do I think it's going to come in? I hope it's not. I really, I'd love to say no, I don't think so, but I think it's not far away if things don't change. It got so bad that I believe Russia was taken off the visa on arrival, automatic sort of yes, you can come and stay, and they've now got to apply for a visa before they come. It's got so bad that police are doing roadblocks. Now, honestly, the roadblocks were in to make a statement. I've still seen a couple, but I haven't personally been pulled up myself. But I tell you what, everyone over here, nearly everyone, except for the same group of people we were talking about before, is wearing helmets almost all the time. Now, in amongst the villages or off the main highways, you see a lot of people running up and down the street and in and out of the markets and stuff without helmets. That's Balinese sort of local way of life almost. But you see on the main highways and the main thoroughfares, you see people with helmets almost all the time now, and that's quite surprising. You see people being a little bit more respectful. You don't see people being quite as stupid, as drunken, as obnoxious. But in the last 3 or 4 months, they've kicked out over 100 tourists, deported enormous amounts of people for offences like disobeying the rules and being obnoxious, yelling and screaming at police. And to be honest, 27 of the 103, as far as I know, and by like a third of the people that they kicked out were from Russia. And I think there was 6 from Australia or something ridiculous. So it was nowhere near as many, and I'm proud to say thank God, because Australia does get a bad reputation of being a bit loutish, a bit lairish. But look, don't quote me on the numbers. I certainly know that the numbers were substantially less for Australia and the other countries. But the numbers of people over here right now seem to be way down, and this is the beginning of their bulk season, their peak season. There's accommodation available in nearly every hotel, which is unusual this time of year. Yes, it's busy, but it's not crazy busy. The roads are insane, but that's Bali. The roadblocks. Look, the long and the short of it with the rules about driving motorbikes and stuff like that. If you have a motorbike license at home, go down to NRMA or go to the AA or your local automotive licensing place and say, how do I get an international driver's license? If you don't have a motorbike license in Australia, you're not allowed to ride a motorbike over here. Now, there are ways once you get here of obtaining a motorcycle license. It's not cheap. I've heard they're up to $250 odd. I don't know the process that well, but there's people that can help you with that. But that's a lot of money for a little bit of freedom when you get here. And unfortunately, It used to be quite easy to jump on a scooter and just go up and down the road, and there are some people probably will sell you a scooter, but I tell you what, if you get caught on a scooter that's not licensed properly, they'll just take it off you, and then you're personally responsible to replace that scooter because the government's confiscated it. So you want to be really careful what you do if you come over here with no license and they pull over at a random checkpoint. And like I said, the chances are very limited, but if you're riding over here without a license and you don't have a helmet on, you're a bloody idiot. You will get pulled over and you're going to get checked and fined, and they will confiscate that scooter. Now, if you've rented that scooter, you could be up for $3,000 or $4,000 to pay off a brand new scooter. So it's not worth the risk. You can get a Gojek motorbike, who's a guy on a like a Uber motorbike, and he'll come pick you up and take you down the street, take you down the beach or in a hotel for probably $1. If there's a couple of you, just get a Go car, and if it's $1 on a motorbike, it's probably only $2.50 or something in a car. So the Go car and Gojek are the same company. It's like Uber, but they have a really cheap option, then the next level up, and look, sky's the limit. So you can still get around here cheap as buggery, but don't come over here and expect to be riding a motorbike without a license. I know it used to be done, it's not being done anymore, and if you try to do it, you could end up really quickly in trouble. And not to mention the insurance problem. If you're over here and you have an accident on a motorbike, you don't have a motorbike license specifically, and you don't have an international license, your insurance won't cover you. If you break your leg or if you have a serious accident, you could be up for hundreds of thousands of dollars to get repatriated to get home that the insurance isn't going to cover. If you've got alcohol in your system, and the first thing they do when you go to hospital or something like that is they'll do a blood test. Now, I haven't ever seen them do random breath testing here in Bali, just at the side of the road, but I promise you, if you go to hospital for a crash and they do a blood test, the first thing the insurance is going to say is, where's the results of his blood test? Because if you've got any alcohol in your system, your insurance is going to be denied. So there's not many people in Bali ever that have got zero alcohol in their system, I tell you. So there's another big no-no. Coming over here riding a bike without license is just ridiculous. And the laws and the customs and the traditions, the driving regime over here is so different to what you're used to at home. The only thing that's the same about it is they drive, well, they don't even drive on the same side of the road, because over here it's very common to see someone scooting up the wrong side of the road. So look, that's, and I don't want to be preachy, and I don't want to sort of sit there and have a rant and tell you what you're supposed to do, and I'm not telling you what you should, what you have to do. I'm just giving you my opinion. So having no license is crazy. Having no helmet is insane, mostly because you're now a prime target. The cops have said they will pull you over, they will fine you, and if they do find out that you don't have everything else covered, and even just if you're not wearing a helmet, there's a good chance they'll throw the bike in the back of a car. I've seen a heap of cars, police cars run around with bikes, just thrown in the back, laying down on their side. They don't care if they scratch it, not their problem. It's your problem, because you're going to owe the motorbike rental company a new motorbike probably, or at least to pay an impound fee, or what, I don't know. And by the time you can get the bike out, you're probably going home. So therefore, you're still up for the cost of a motorbike. So, look. Now, as far as, there's another one that they're talking about, this $150 tourist tax. I don't know about that either. They're looking at what they can do to help Bali, to protect Bali, and to ensure it, that Bali gets the right tourists. I'm scared that the money, if they were to do that, is not going to get filtered down to the people that really depend on the tourism trade, because it's not going to be enough. There's no way in the world $150 tourist tax could make up for the tens of thousands of activities and small businesses. Sorry about that. There's no way that it can make up for the number of hundreds and thousands of small businesses here in Bali that rely on tips, and that rely on, you know, a few dollars a day from someone renting them their scooter, or someone going on a snorkeling trip or something like that. So look, it is a concern. My biggest concern is making too much of a thing about this and having people just say, that's it, we'll go to Thailand, we'll go to Vietnam, we'll go somewhere else, because Bali really needs it. They really desperately need as much as they can get, and it has been a third world country for many years. It is a first world destination, but it's a third world country, and the people that live off the main street here, and even the people that serve you your hot dogs and your hamburgers at the hotel and make your bed, they nearly all live under very uncomfortable conditions. And I know because I've lived under those conditions for the last 12 months, and it's only just been in the last couple of months that I've managed to be able to get into something that's a lot more decent and gives me a bit of space and a room to move. So look, yeah, be careful. If you're coming over here, just have your wits about you. Don't be stupid, don't be an idiot, and if you see other people, just, I don't know, try to get them to tone down. If you're with a group of people, don't walk around at night time. There's not much crime over here, there's not many dramas, but there is some. It's settled down a lot. Now my dog goes bark. Hey, dog, shut up. Bali's Bali. I tell you what, and I'd be devastated to see Bali change. There's so many things happening. There's so many good things happening. Bali is getting an international world-class hospital over in Sanoa that's going to be one of the best plastic surgery and cosmetic clinics in the world. They've got massive big supermarkets. There's I believe one of the biggest fun parks in Southeast Asia is going to be located here in Bali in the next 4 or 5 years or something. There are giant hotel complexes and malls and stuff like that coming. There is a lot of big end and nice stuff happening in Bali. There's still a lot of squalor and poverty and dirty beaches and stuff that they're working on slowly but surely. But it's more than a simple answer to a complicated question. So I implore the governor to think very carefully about the people of Bali, to be aware of how much of an impact these regulations could bring in. I don't think it's going to come in overnight, but I'm terrified if they bring it in of the impact it's not going to have on Australians. It's going to have a massive impact on the locals, and that really scares me, because as you know, I spend so much time trying to help the locals, and even when the bulging tourism trade that we've got at the moment, most of the people that we visit up in the villages are nowhere near as or don't see any money at all coming through back from the tourist trade, or such a little margin that it's not worth mentioning. Guys, I'm going to finish up now. I hope you've listened to my rant and take some of it in. By all means, leave a message. Please don't just leave negative messages, because I know how much of an impact it's going to have, and because of the screening and the government regulations here in Bali, I do have to be careful about what is put on my vlog. So I sometimes do have to delete comments and posts, because it's a bit like Facebook and other regulatory bodies. If it's on my channel and it's negative, especially about the government, then guess who gets in trouble? And I'm not going to wear that for someone else's opinion. So please keep it to constructive. Please keep it reasonable. Otherwise, I'll just turn comments off, because I have to be careful. I'm not trying to do anything negative to hurt the people of Bali, and certainly to hurt my opportunity to be here in Bali. But I am concerned about what the craziness has caused, and the point that they've got. I think having a break from all the Aussies and the outsiders has given some people, and certainly the governing people, saying, well, it was bloody nice. I've got to tell you, the best Bali I've ever seen was when there was no tourist here. The people were skinny as hell, but they were happy. They are still happy. Now they're starting to put a little bit of weight on. But it was such a serene and such a beautiful time to be in Bali. I feel absolutely honoured and privileged to be here during that. And I'm sorry that you guys can't see that. And maybe the only way that you can is by bringing some sort of lottery system or some sort of limit system to prevent this just excessive, incredibly cheap poverty tourists coming along. People coming over here with almost no money because the beers are cheaper and they can buy a bottle of a rack for $10 and they just go stupid on it. Maybe we do need to get rid of them. Honestly, maybe we do, but what do we do in the meanwhile? How do we build Bali up? How do we build the resources up so that Bali can be strong and attract a better class of people. Hey, listen, the answer is up to you guys. I'll do as much as I can from this end. I'm trying my hardest to make sure that the people watch my vlogs are generous tippers, they're respectful, they understand the cultures and the customs. They realise that Bali is a beautiful and a very, very special place. I just want to thank you all for your following. If you haven't subscribed to my vlogs, we do so much work in the villages helping the locals. We do a lot of work helping the schools, helping the kids get an education. And there's more and more projects. We're stacking them in the background, just waiting for the opportunity to get out there and show you just how much we're doing for Bali to help them out. So this is very important to me, and I'm very passionate about it. I'm sorry for a big rant, but it's got to be said, and it's really important to me that you understand how crucial this next part of Bali's evolution is going to be. They've come back from bombings, they've come back from other disasters and volcanoes and all that sort of stuff. They'll come back, but the people that are going to suffer the most are the ones that don't have any room to move as it is now, that just can't afford to go back into a recession or worse. So sorry for the bad news, sorry for the rant. Please don't let it put you off coming to Bali. It's only bad if you're an idiot, honestly. The people that they're trying to get rid of are not the guys sitting there watching this video, because they would have given up a long time ago. They wouldn't listen to me rant and rave. But if you're here right to the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate and respect everything you're doing to help me, to support me, and to follow me. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're in there, give us a thumbs up. Love to hear your positive feedback, and I'm sorry that tonight's a bit of a downer. I tell you what though, it's an early night, and because it's been a little bit quiet in Bali at the moment, I'm going to go out a little bit later and do a bit of a pub crawl just to see how quiet it is in the big nightclubs and the main places. So watch out for that one tomorrow. I'll try and get that on the web by tomorrow afternoon or something. Love your work, love your support. See you when you get here.